Namaste, Sitaram. A pleasant good morning. Welcome to Rudraaya. I am your host, Nisha Sharma, and Rudraaya is being brought to you with the kind compliments of Maharudradev Mandir. And of course, our mandir is located at 850 Tapscott Road, Unit 34 in Scarborough, with Tapscott and McNichol being our closest intersection. So I know this coming week we will be celebrating the season of Holi, and so there are many mandirs who will be having their Holi celebrations and enjoying the festive season of Holi. So throughout the program today, we'll be airing a couple of items as we prepare also at Maharudradev Mandir for the celebration of Holi. For now, we'll get straight into a pravachan with our spiritual leader, Pandit Ravi Sharma. Enjoy.
नटवरलाल गिरिधर गोपाल नटवरलाल गिरिधर गोपाल
नटवरलाल गिरिधर गोपाल
नटवरलाल गिरिधर गोपाल
नटवरलाल गिरिधर गोपाल
मेरा प्रभु घनश्याम गोपाल
मेरा प्रभु घनश्याम गोपाल
मेरा प्रभु घनश्याम गोपाल
मेरा प्रभु घनश्याम गोपाल
देर सारे जीवन का हार
तेर सारी जीवन का
गोपी मनोहर हृदय विहार
गोपी मनोहर हृदय विहार
गोपी मनोहर हृदय विहार
गोपी मनोहर हृदय विहार
नटवरलाल गिरिधर गोपाल
नटवरलाल गिरिधर गोपाल
नटवरलाल गिरिधर गोपाल
नटवरलाल गिरिधर गोपाल
गिरिधर गोपाल
गिरिधर गोपाल
गिरिधर गोपाल गिरिधर गोपाल. Christopher is ready. All right. Devotees, it is indicated that for one itself to reach the spiritual world that we've been told about, it is no easy task. In fact, one will ask, but we already have trouble itself in this material world. Then how are we supposed to ascend towards this spiritual world? Devotees, the sages and saints say, the truths that are enshrined, that we impart to you, is no difference for what the ancient seers, the ancient sages and saints, they have narrated. It is no new information itself that I am given to you. But these were the same. It is true that you and I included, we chose to not listen. And so as we chose itself to not listen itself in such manner, who becomes the loser itself in the end? It is said that science itself is able to take us towards the moon and to different planets. Our scriptures indicate that it seems to be different galaxies itself that exist throughout the world that is yet to be discovered. So how can we deny the presence of the dear Lord? So an analogy itself was given that take water, what you will say is water. We'll ask you, is there any ice in it? No, there's no ice in it. Put it in the freezer, take it out. What is it now? Well, it's not ice water, but it is ice. So where has the water gone? So we say, well, it is frozen, so it becomes ice. Is there any difference between the ice and is there any difference itself between the water? No, there is no difference. Take the waves and take the water. Is there any subtle difference between the waves and the water? No, they don't exist independently, but they exist together. Take the rose that you pick, not artificial one, okay? Fresh smelling rose from your garden and smell it. Can you separate the smell itself from this rose? Well, maybe some special process after it decays, the smell itself will change. Similarly also, it is said that the Lord himself is called as Brahman. And so, The Divine Mother herself, she is called as Shakti. It's this principle itself that allows this life to function. It is said that no planet in this material universe itself is free from these that makes up this material existence. To bring an analogy, that if you put a frog itself, anybody know what the Hindi name for a frog is? Anybody? Nobody? Medak. Okay? So it's called different names in different places, but Medak is one word itself that is given. It tells us that put this frog itself in a vessel of water and start heating this water. Now you might say that, oh, this is a cruel thing to do. I'm just bringing an analogy. Now as the temperature begins to heat, the frog itself is able to adjust its body. So have you seen a frog itself in water? They will adjust its body. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So the more the water itself is heated, instead of the frog itself try to jump out, like you and I would try to do if we're in a position, this frog itself expands. It expands and expands and expands. And just as when the frog itself is not able to bear any heat, and is not able itself to adjust, then only it jumps out. But if the frog itself tries to jump out, but is unable to do so, so especially in a tight container, if the frog itself expands and starts locking itself with the heat, it is unable itself now to bring back its body, and so the frog itself may be burnt within it. So one will ask that what is it that killed this frog? Was it the heat that killed the frog? Some will say, maybe. So if you're in the position itself, so instead of you expanding yourself, why not make yourself small and jump out? When you know that you have enough problems itself, why do you continue to fight it and fight it and fight it and fight it? I know I am the right one. What I say goes. Why does it always have to be like this? Devotees, we all have to adjust with people. We all have to adjust with situations itself in life, because there will be times itself when situations demands from us that we should not expand ourselves, not expand the ego more and more and more, but we should know how to become simple. We should be simple. We should be most small itself. If we allow the individuals themselves to come and exploit us, mentally, emotionally, financially, they will continue. We have to understand when we should jump, and we should know also how high we should jump at the times. Satyanarayana Govinda Madhava Swami Narayana Govinda Keshava Satyanarayana Govinda Madhava Swami Narayana Govinda Keshava
Satyanarayana Govinda Madhava Swami Narayana Govinda Keshava
Satyanarayana Govinda Madhava Swami Narayana Govinda Keshava
Satyanarayana Govinda Madhava Swami Narayana Govinda Keshava
Satyanarayana Govinda Madhava Swami Narayana Govinda Keshava
Satyanarayana Govinda Madhava Swami Narayana Govinda Keshava
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
बरसे रंग बरसे रंग बरसे रंग बरसे नाचे कृष्ण मुरारी रंग बरसे रंग बरसे नाचे राधा प्यारी रंग बरसे नाचे कृष्ण मुरारी रंग बरसे नाचे राधा प्यारी रंग बरसे 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 रंग बरसे बरसे तरसे तरसे नयन मोर दर्शन को तरसे गायब मोह मैया प्यारी मोर के लन संग कृष्ण मुरारी अपना रोको हरि ज्ञान को यही है मौको बरसाने बरसत लागी रंगों की बौछार ब्रज में आ गयो रे फिर से होली को त्योहार टेढ़ो सा है मेरो बांके बिहारी तीखी कटारी वृंदावन बिहारी मारे जोर से पिचकारी मुरारी रंग बरसे रंग बरसे नाचे कृष्ण मुरारी रंग बरसे नाचे राधा प्यारी रंग बरसे सांवलो है लाला और गोरी है लाली हाथों में दोनों के रंगों की थाली सांवलो है लाला और गोरी है लाली हाथों में दोनों के रंगों की थाली दोनों हुए पूरे लाल जो उड़ा गुलाल रंग बरसे रंग बरसे नाचे कृष्ण मुरारी रंग बरसे नाचे राधा प्यारी रंग बरसे छाती फुलाए पहुँचे बरसाने छाती फुलाए पहुँचे बरसाने पहुँचे बरसाने राधा को सताने लटकी मार खा के भागे मुरारी रंग बरसे रंग बरसे नाचे कृष्ण मुरारी रंग बरसे नाचे राधा प्यारी रंग बरसे नन्हे कान्हा ने गोवर्धन उठाया इंद्र की वर्षा से ब्रज को बचाया नन्हे कान्हा ने गोवर्धन उठाया इंद्र की वर्षा से ब्रज को बचाया और होली पे सबको भी गाए लीला कैसी दिखाए रंग बरसे रंग बरसे नाचे कृष्ण मुरारी रंग बरसे नाचे राधा प्यारी रंग बरसे नाचे कृष्ण मुरारी रंग बरसे नाचे राधा प्यारी रंग बरसे जाऊं मैं बलिहारी रंग बरसे नाचे राधा प्यारी रंग बरसे
My dear viewers, as I mentioned at the beginning of the program today, we are preparing for the season of Holi, which is going to be on March the 17th. So many Mandars, I know they're preparing for the celebrations. If you're able to, please go out and join in this Holi celebration as we welcome in, or we usher in the season of spring. And, a new beginning as well, as we say hello to the plants, the flowers, all the wonderful thing that springs brings. So make sure and go out there and also, support your mandar and support the season of Holi. We'll get straight into our corporate segment with our host of the corporate segment, Kamal Ji from Lotus Funeral Home.
Sitaram and Namaste. My name is Kamal Bardwaj, and I'm the owner of Lotus Funeral and Cremation Center and Kitchener Funeral Homes and Crematorium. I'm also a licensed funeral director. Talking about death is not an easy subject, but is something that we all have to deal with at some point in our lives. Some of us have loved ones that are elderly or have relatives that are not well. Today, I want to discuss some points about planned deaths at home. Many Canadians would prefer to pass away at home. For the point of this discussion, home could be your personal residence, a hospice, retirement home, or long-term care facility. Many times when a person dies at home, family and friends are not always well informed about what to do. For example, they may not know that the person who is not well has a wish for do not resuscitate confirmation form. This is a direction for paramedics or firefighters not to perform CPR of any sort. In many cases, Lotus Funeral is contacted instead of calling 911 because it is a planned death at home. When a person passes away in this circumstance, a doctor or nurse is called to pronounce the death so that a medical certificate of death is issued for the funeral home to collect upon arrival at the home to transport. It is advisable for the family to contact the funeral home to let them know about the planned death so that information can be given in advance to make the situation more easily manageable when the time comes for the death. When there is a planned death at home, 911 does not need to be called, as it can make the situation more confusing. If you want to learn more about how to start the process for a planned death at home, please contact me directly. Always remember, Lotus Funeral and Cremation Center and Kitchener Funeral Home Crematorium are open 7 days a week and 24 hours a day to serve your needs. There are large rooms for large gatherings to smaller rooms as well. The crematorium is located within the building, so we never have to travel to another location for cremation witnessing. We can supply all the puja items as well as a Kirtan group if required. We are centrally located, so we serve families from the east and to the west. We have ample parking and a one-story facility, so it's easy to come in and out of the building. For more information, please contact me on the telephone number on the screen. Thank you for watching, and see you next week on Rudraaya. Sitaram.
Life is beautiful, but death is inevitable. I realized this when my dad passed away. So much pain, and amidst all this, the worry of arranging a funeral. Thankfully, in all this, Kamal stood by me. From the viewing to the cremation, he arranged it all at one location. Once someone is gone, they don't come back. But Lotus Funeral Home knows how to give them a respectable farewell.
Lotus Funeral Home. Life must be celebrated.
मोहे लागे
In fact, the Festival of Colors is another name for a religious holiday celebrated here in Trinidad and Tobago, better known as Phagwa or Holi. Phagwa is a vibrant celebration that marks the beginning of the Hindu New Year and the end of winter in India. East Indians who came to Trinidad and Tobago from Bihar in 1845 as indentured laborers brought with them this festival, and since then, Phagwa has been celebrated here for the past century and a half. On this day, merrymakers smear each other with a special powdered dye called abir. Kids dash about with water guns and water balloons ready to spray anyone they dash past. Everyone should be considered fair game. Phagwa represents an opportunity for all to play and laugh, forget and forgive, and mend broken friendships. A special type of folk song called chautal is sung during the course of a festival, with accompanying music usually played on two instruments, a hand drum called the dholak and a percussion instrument called the majira. Traditionally, Holi celebrations start on the night before Holi, with a Holika Dahan, where people gather to perform religious rituals in front of a bonfire and pray that their internal evil be destroyed the way Holika, the sister of the demon king Hiranyakashipu, was killed in the fire. In India, Holi is a national holiday which has been celebrated for thousands of years. There, festivities take place in all the streets and in people's homes. But here in Trinidad and Tobago, Phagwa is celebrated on the Sunday near to the actual date of Holi. And to get the full colored abir experience, you'd have to visit specially designated locations like the Orangway Savannah. In this sense, Phagwa is open to everyone as people of all faiths and backgrounds turn out to participate in the jubilation each year, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, where this type of cross-cultural experience is typical to our multi-ethnic society.
टके टके मारे नजारिया काले काले टोपिया के मोरजिया ललके टके मारे नजारिया ओ काले काले टोपिया मोरजिया ललके टके टके मारे नजारिया काले काले टोपिया के मोरजिया ललके टके मारे नजारिया अरे टके टके मारे नजारिया सवरिया टके टके मारे नजारिया
My dear viewers, we've come to the end of another segment of Rudraaya, and I know you are eager to know what Maharajadev Mandir is also doing for the Holi celebration. And our Holi celebration will be later this month, as we are preparing for another event at Maharajadev Mandir. And of course, not to clash with all the other mandirs that are having their celebrations, we always like to sort of delay ours to the last few weeks of the month. So throughout these coming weeks, I'll be giving you some more information on what's happening in Maharudradev Mandir as we continue to celebrate the season of Holi. For now, I'd like to thank our kind sponsors at Maharudradev Mandir, as well as our executive producer, Gary Khan, for making Rudraaya possible. And until we meet again next week, have a blessed week. Take care. Stay safe. Namaste.
मगन भय तुलसी राम गुण गाई रे मगन भय तुलसी राम गुण गाई रे 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 मगन भय तुलसी राम गुण गाई रे मगन भय तुलसी राजे चले हाथी घोड़ा पालकी सजाई के राजा चले हाथी घोड़ा पालकी सजाई के साधु चले भूया भूया साधु चले भूया भूया चुनती बचाई के मगन भय तुलसी राम गुण गाई रे मगन भय तुलसी राजा सोए महल महल कमरी बिछाई के राजा सोए महल महल कमरी बिछाई के साधु सोए भूया भूया साधु सोए भूया भूया मृग चल बिछाई के मगन भय तुलसी राम गुण गाइए मगन भय तुलसी राजा कहे पूरी कचौरी लड्डू घी मंगाई के राजा कहे पूरी कचौरी लड्डू घी मंगाई के साधु कहे सुखी सकवा साधु कहे सुखी सकवा पनिया मिलाई के मगन भय तुलसी राम गुण गाई रे मगन भय तुलसी राम गुण गाई के मगन भय तुलसी राम गुण गाई के राम गुण गाई के राम गुण गाई के राम गुण